So this clip, this is really something else. The end of it is the most insane part, because you have to really focus on what Jesse Waters ends up saying. But you're going to have Greg Gutfeld here whine and bitch and moan about the culture war, but it's kind of hilarious, the argument he makes, because Fox News is most guilty of what he's accusing others of being guilty of. But then the interjection at the end from Jesse Waters is like, I can't believe this is supposed to be a news channel. Watch this.
On in Cuba. We just had an assassination in Haiti. You got China making aggressive moves in all over the place. You got Russia and ransomware, which is basically cyber warfare. Now we have this Cuba stuff. But our press is doing all their trench reporting in the culture war. We are now so obsessed about our past and litigating our past that we're not looking around and we're not looking at our future and what could happen next. These are the battles that are currently being fought, but we believe that the battle is over non-binary toilets, right? And pronouns. And I sound like I'm kidding, but we are spending an inordinate amount of inordinate. This is important.
Inordinate.
Thank you. Important. Amount of time reckoning with our past, as opposed to understanding what, imagine, if you think about pre-World War II, if we were obsessing over the things we were obsessing in America, what would have happened? Would we have ever, would have engaged the Germans or the Japanese or anything? We would have been, we're not able to do that right now because, Billy doesn't feel right.
Well, we never would have dropped the A-bomb on the Japanese, and that probably would have cost millions more American lives.
What? What? So understand what they're arguing there. Greg Gutfeld's like, we're so obsessed with the culture war, we can't even focus on serious issues. That's the point he's trying to make. And then Gutfeld is like, yeah, if we did that pre-World War II, we wouldn't have even nuked civilians in Japan. Well, then I wish we were talking about those issues back then, because I don't want to nuke civilians in Japan. Listen, guys, it's, we're not going to get into all of it here, but just understand the idea that if we didn't nuke Japan, that millions more Americans would have died. What are you talking? First of all, 1 million Americans didn't die in World War II. It was a lot. It was a terrible number. It was like 400,000. But millions didn't die. And he's like, millions more Americans would have died. No, the war was already over. The Japanese were trying to surrender. The nuking of civilians in Japan was a show of force to tell the rest of the world, to tell the Soviet Union, just so you understand, we're the craziest people here, we're the biggest, baddest dudes on the block. That's why they nuked Japan. Now, you don't have to take my word for it, but do yourself a favor and go read all the situation surrounding the nuking of Japan. Go read about it, because you're going to be astonished about it. You are. And by the way, the Soviet Union had more deaths of their soldiers in World War II when they were fighting the Nazis. The U.S. had 400,000. There were at least double, more than double actually, of Soviet soldiers who died. So, to just give us credit for ending the war or act like millions more Americans would have died, that wasn't going to happen. We nuked civilians, and the reality is we absolutely didn't have to do it. We didn't have to do it. Killing civilians is wrong. I don't care who does it. Killing civilians for political reason, that's terrorism. That's the definition of terrorism. We did the worst terrorist attack of all time, was the nuking of innocent civilians in Japan. And this idiot is like, if we were as silly back then as we were today, we wouldn't have even nuked civilians. Well, then, for the love of God, I wish we were as silly back then as we are today. It's so amazing. The guy is so brainwashed and so dumb. He's never heard a pro-America argument or piece of history that he didn't instantly believe. God, Jesse Waters is such a clown. And, okay, so now let's get to, what's-his-face's argument, Greg Gutfeld. So he says, we got all these serious things going on, Haiti, stuff going on in China, Cuba, Russia with their cyber warfare. By the way, the cyber warfare stuff is from, gangs. It's not from the government of Russia. It's from gangs trying to, get money. That's what it is. But he makes it like a government issue. But anyway, so he talked all these serious issues. Now notice, he brings up these serious issues, he didn't say anything about healthcare, didn't say anything about wages or unions or NSA spying or endless war that we should stop or corruption or climate change. Didn't say anything about any of that. Nothing about any of that. He was all the serious issues are Haiti, China, Russia, Cuba. And he's like, why aren't we talking about these serious things? And then he says, because we're lost in the culture war and all we do is talk about the culture war. And that's the problem. You know what? He's actually right. We are lost in the culture war, and all we do is talk about the culture war. But Fox News is the worst offender. You guys are the worst offender. On the same week that we had $1,400 stimulus checks going out the door to the American people who desperately needed them, Fox News was changing the conversation by talking about Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. You guys are the worst offenders, and you know what? You do it on purpose. You do it because you know you can't actually win in the realm of policy, so you want to change the conversation to some goofy social issue shit so you could look like we're the serious people and the lefties are insane. So the thing he's accusing others of being guilty of, you guys are the biggest culprits. You do it all the time. And by the way, yes, it's not, the issues he cites as like the real serious issues. No, the real serious issues that we need to address ASAP are healthcare and wages and unions and NSA spying and endless war and corruption and climate change. That's the stuff that should be on the forefront of everybody's mind that we need to fix right now. But instead, he thinks what? What do you want to do? You want to invade Haiti and invade Cuba? You want to do more endless war, more invasions? You want to do something, you want to fight China or fight Russia or sanction them more or get into a standoff and continue the Cold War? That's serious to you? No, I'd rather you guys actually talk about the culture war and be wrong on the culture war than get us involved in other countries in a nefarious and terrible way that would only exacerbate bad things more. So it's the Twilight Zone over there, man. This is a news network. It's a news network. Deeply unserious people making deeply unserious points. Insufferable.